everyone. So I'm just going to wait a couple minutes so everyone can get on and give her some time to put it live on Facebook.
Hey guys.
Okay, so let's just get started. My name's Sophie Mayfield, and I am a social media intern here at Fashion Mingle. We are so excited to have Jaleesa here today as our guest to explain to us a little bit more about the makeup industry and kind of what goes into content creation and branding. If you haven't already, make sure to create a Student Mingle profile at www.fashionmingle.com/studentmingle. By doing so, you can get access to people like Jaleesa and create connections with fashion industry professionals. We will be doing a Q&A at the end, so make sure to send in your questions throughout and we will get to them.
Okay, great. So we are now live on Facebook. Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Daskurdi, and I'm the Communications Assistant Intern here at Fashion Mingle. We are so excited to talk to Jaleesa today, so thank you all so much for tuning in. So Jaleesa, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm really excited about today. I'm Jaleesa Jaikaran. I'm a makeup artist and content creator. I moved to New York 7 years ago. I primarily work in beauty and fashion, so a lot of fashion editorials, beauty campaigns, and I dabble in a bit of product development. I've helped a few brands with their foundation and lipstick development in the shades. And I also have a podcast. It's called The Life of a Makeup Artist, where the intention is to elevate and educate. And what else do I do? I feel like I do so much. And I also I started doing some beauty business coaching. I help makeup artists like myself who want to go from behind to in front of the camera, just navigate this new digital space.
That's awesome. It's so cool that you're into the makeup industry and you've moved to New York. Did you go to school to become a makeup artist, or how did you really get into it?
So I did not go to school for makeup, and I know everybody's path is different. I just started to fall in love with the process. I was working a office job at the time, and I the first thing I did is I took an art class. I went to like study color, and I was still living in Trinidad, so we don't actually have like full blown schools there. So I took an art class, and then eventually one of my friends told me that Mac was hiring, so I actually signed up to get a job with Mac, and I felt like having that job with Mac really was my beauty school. I was able to learn different skin tones, started to learn about products, and that really honed my skills. But was the second part to the question? I did not go to makeup school. There was a second part, no?
No, it was just that.
Okay.
So has makeup always been a passion for you, even before you started working at Mac?
Oh yeah, definitely. I when I first started learning makeup, that's when like YouTube first started to like that's when YouTube launched. And I was like, oh my God, I love makeup. But my love for makeup didn't just come um just out of the blue. At first, I was trying to cover my insecurities. I had like a lot of darkness around my mouth, and I did not know, and like eczema and other things that I was dealing with. And I just didn't have any idea how to cover it. I was around 16, 17. And when I found out that foundation or concealer could actually cover it up, I was like, whoa, what is this thing? And then I started to play with eyeshadows. I used to work at an office. Every time I got paid, I would buy like these little Milani baked shadows because they were so gorgeous, and I would just started playing. And when I started to like find videos online, I started to practice, and that just opened a whole web of everything that was like happening. So yeah, I literally just didn't really fell in love with it just because I liked makeup. It was because it stemmed from my insecurity, and then I was like, oh, this is actually really fun. I actually really like this.
I love watching like YouTube tutorials, like makeup tutorials on YouTube. I love watching them.
That's
I
what
love it.
say too. I definitely like got into makeup through YouTube, and like same with you, kind of like I had acne and stuff that I wanted to hide at like middle school, and I would go to YouTube and try to find videos like to help me with that. But
Right.
when did you actually start doing it professionally?
So I wanted to add to I had to model in a fashion show, and by no means I don't model. And they made us go buy a foundation, and that's how the whole thing stemmed. I was like, oh my God, I have to buy this foundation, and I was really upset. And that's when I found out it can like cover. And the second question was what did you say? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. When did you start actually doing makeup professionally?
Oh, right. So I took a makeup class with just like a makeup artist that was offering courses in Trinidad. And it was like maybe the second or third class, I stopped actually taking the class because she was like, oh, you really have a natural like knack for this. And I started assisting her on her jobs. I didn't know I had, a skill for makeup naturally. So I started working with her. She would take me to like when she did weddings, and she had a studio, so I would always be in there playing with product, learning technique. And then when I really started to work at Mac, I would take clients. I also started taking clients at her studio, but it was nerve wracking because it was like my first set of clients. Like I didn't know what I was doing. Like I knew what I was doing, but I was so new. But it was a really fun experience, and I think that experience at Mac, like on a Saturday when we were taking appointments for like events, we would have clients back to back. So I'm doing makeup from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. like straight. So that for me was like boot camp because I'm dealing with all types of skin tones, textures. So I think that's why I have a love for like skin tones and like making skin look like skin, because I saw everyone from the youngest to the oldest.
That's awesome. So, do you have a specific favorite type of makeup look to do, like either on yourself or on your clients?
Mm, I love glowy skin. Oh, I just love like skin that looks very natural and clean. And then I like color, but I like color in minimal ways. Of course, I love to get creative as well, but give me like a pop of like a teal liner, a green, blue, like that's always my favorite to do, on myself and others too.
Yeah,
So
I love having like a pop of color somewhere on my face. Like
Yeah, like even in a
lipstick.
minimal way, it's so pretty. Yeah.
I was kind of stalking your website, checking you out a little bit, and I seen that you worked with a ton of different celebrities and clients. Is
Yeah.
there a specific person or like event that you've done that you just like really loved and it was your favorite?
That's such a great question. I've worked with so many great people. Oh, damn. Like that's a hard one. Um, um, I would say that I mean, I don't know if she would be considered a celebrity, but I worked with Stacey Abrams next last year, and I just think that being able to work with people that are changing the world, I obviously, love people that create art and music, and, but somebody that's actually making moves to change the world and is going to go down in history in that way is like such an honor to work with people like that. And she's so sweet. The shoot was really short, but I really enjoyed that particular person. And in terms of like, anything else, like I feel like all of them kind of hold the same weight in terms of like the actual clients, the beauty brands, etc., fashion.
So, what are some events that you've done makeup for?
Oh, events. I don't do a ton of events, but I've done some. I believe what's it? Vanity Fair had an event. I've done events for Adidas. I also work on some events for like press events. So if like Pat McGrath is having like a release, I've worked on a lot of her events, like showing product. But I don't do a ton of events per se. I would do clients for events if they're going to, let's say, like the business of fashion in Paris during Paris Fashion Week. Like my clients will be going to different events like that. Sometimes I don't even know what the events are. I'm like, all right, I'm coming. I got you. I'm like, I'll get you together. Just tell me what you're wearing. But yeah, I don't sometimes know what the events are, but those are some that I know that I've done, and like Diamond Ball, Rihanna's Diamond Ball, and things like that.
You've done makeup for magazines too, right?
Yes. I've done makeup for a ton of magazines, some covers, some editorials. It's very different because when I first moved to New York, I started assisting someone. His name is Kabuki, and he's like a legend makeup artist. It's funny because a lot of younger makeup lovers are not too familiar with him, but he's amazing. He's worked on like from Michael Jackson to Naomi Campbell. And the first year that I moved to New York, I was under his wings. I was doing like editorials with him, with, celebrities, and really learning the ropes. And then, just having that experience and exposure and me learning with my eyes, I was able to take that and then, work with publications like Elle and, Refinery 29 and Allure, all these things.
So this is kind of like a random question, but I was just kind of thinking about it. When you do these clients' makeup, do you like provide products? Do you bring products? Do you have them bring products?
I have all the makeup. Like I don't require my clients to bring anything. If they want to, absolutely. I would say like, hey, I'm gonna do this lip on you. If I don't actually give them the lip product, at least I'll say like, let me see what you have so we can pair something up, or I can use what you have. But I'm like my kit is fully stocked with like the lightest to the darkest shade.
Do you have like any specific products that are your favorite to use on people?
Ooh, that is a great question. That's very hard because I do love a ton of products, but I will say my favorite brow pencils are the Maybelline micro brow pencils. They're so affordable and the point is so thin. I do love a lot of skin products from NARS. The Bobbi Brown face base and the eye base is like heavenly for makeup prep. It's like one of my favorites. But I do honestly like I have to look around, but there's a ton of brands that I might like something in from them in particular, but I may not love the whole line. But like Makeup Forever has great lipsticks, great like pops of color. MAC always has great lipstick options as well, and blushes as well. Yeah.
I love those Maybelline eyebrow pencils. That's what I used for myself.
They're incredible. They're literally so good. Like I'm just like I go and I just pick up a few because I need to have them at all times.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
So do you do like makeup or like brand deals with these makeup companies, or how does that work?
So I do. Being makeup artist and content creator is two different worlds, but I've been kind of like bridging the gap between both of them. Some of the brands that I've worked with professionally as a makeup artist, I haven't worked with on like content creation side, but there are a ton of brands that I do both for. So I've done a ton of stuff for like MAC. I just did one of their holiday campaigns, but then I also create content for them. Some things are coming out like in February 2021. So it's kind of just random, like not all brands that I've done shoots for, like Shiseido. I haven't done any shoots for them, but I'm about to do some content for them. So it really depends, but some of them stem from like existing relationships. And then some of them are things that like pop up on their own, which I'm super grateful for. But yeah, I really just I want to be able to do both. I love being in front and behind the camera. Yeah.
Is there any like current like brands or companies that you are doing work with like at the time, or do you kind of just do it in little like spurts, like random, you get like they reach out to you and they want to do something with you?
So print is not as prevalent as it used to be. I do have something with Allure magazine that's coming out in January, but it really depends because I would say print has gone down, not in its value, but it's in its prevalence because everything has been digital. Like you see digital makeup covers, but it comes and goes as, if it comes up and it works in terms of my like schedule, I'm there. If not, I'll wait for the next one. But I still have, during this summer, I did like a ton of like editorials and some things that I was working on. But yeah, it just comes up sporadically.
So do you reach out to the brand or does the brand reach out to you?
Um, So there's two parts to that. When it comes to fashion editorial, most times they will reach out to myself or my agent. And then when it comes to like content creation, you can always like reach out to a brand, send a pitch deck or a media kit, or reach out to their PR person. But most times the brands are reaching out to me. Sometimes I would connect with brands that I know that I've met before, or that I know that I maybe like I've gotten like product from them before and I want to follow up on that. But yeah, most of the times they're reaching out.
That's good to know. That's helpful.
Yeah, I always wondered how that worked. So I'm glad that was like cleared up.
Oh yeah, but I would say like people, I would definitely recommend people like reach out to brands if you're looking to build relationships with brands. And I think maybe I'll answer that question because I think that's a question that comes up a lot. If you're trying to build relationship with brands, and you don't have any in with them, I would say, you know, one, choose brands that you are actually aligned with. So is this a brand that I actually like? I don't want to talk about a brand that I don't like just because I'm trying to
Right.
make a partnership. And then you start tagging them in your posts. You might think that they don't ever see these things, but they have, most brands have a team that looks at social media. So if I tag you, I tag you, like you're going to see I'm engaging on the actual post on your feed, or I'm going onto the website and I'm looking for that press email and I'm saying, hey, XYZ, maybe a very short, like 2, 3, like 1 or 2 paragraphs email saying, hey, my name is X. I'm interested in da da da, would love to stay connected. And you can always follow up. I always tell people like you kind of have to go with the flow. There is a particular brand that I have a partnership with until spring of 2021, and it started over 3 months ago. And I was doing reviews for their products like 2 years ago. And I just had to do some content with the product that I did a review on. So I'm like, I've been talking about this for 2 years. And now 2 years later, you guys realize like, oh, this person is already aligned with our brand. She likes our product. So it's only natural for her to now come and talk about the same product because she already knows it. She likes it. So yeah, I do think in this age of like social media, a lot of things might come like, oh, I want to make everything now, I want to work with brands now, I want to do this now, but you really have to put in the work and really align with things that you actually like. if that answered the question.
Yes, it's really, I feel like it's all about connections, like in networking a lot of the time now, just like reaching out and trying to get connected with as many people as you can.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a specific or like a makeup artist you look up to or you would like love to work with in the future?
Ooh, that is actually a really good question. So I'll just give a preface that we were, before the chat started, we were talking about like manifestation and things that we've always wanted to do. And a lot of the makeup artists' names that I've written down, people that I've wanted to work with, I've actually worked with. So that's Kabuki, that's Pat McGrath, that's Diane Kendall, all these people that I look up to, Tom Pashot, and all of these are makeup artists that are really huge in fashion, and they are the ones that are doing the Tom Fords, Gucci, Fendi, like these shows backstage. And I've been on all of their teams before, so I'm honored to say that. So I don't really think there's any makeup artist anymore that I would like want to work with, because like I feel like I aimed high and now I'm just like, all right, everybody is like else's free game. But once you work with like those legends, you like really learn a lot, and I'm super grateful that I've been able to be on their teams.
That's so cool. Those are definitely some big people for sure.
Yeah, they're so amazing and all different in their own right. And then also being in like different places with them. So like the makeup you do with Pat in New York is not the same makeup you'll do with her in Paris. The stuff that you do with Diane in Paris or Milan is not the same thing you'll do in New York. So it's really just like overall great experience.
Is there any tips that you would give someone that did want to get into makeup and like how to begin doing that?
I definitely have a few points. I think the makeup industry is very different now. I think obviously we all know that social media is more prevalent as it was back then. So I definitely think that you need to have some sort of social presence. It's no longer where you can just post your work and just like be gone. I think people want to connect with you, because when you look at why brands hire people, they're not hiring you just because you're good at makeup. They're hiring you for you. Let's think about it. There's so many talented makeup artists, so many talented beauty bloggers, but why are some people booking the jobs and some are not? Because it's who they are, and it encompasses in everything that they do. So I would say, like, make sure that you have a social media presence. Make sure that you're still speaking. If you want to be a pro makeup artist, you're still speaking, and showing that you're a subject matter expert. So if I'm like, I want to show you how to do a red lip, we all might think, oh, that's so basic, but I'm giving you tips on how to like get this red lip, because there are people out there that might not know this, but you're also speaking like to the product, to the application. It's not just like, here's a pretty picture of me in a red lip. I'm actually like giving tips and showing that I know what I'm talking about.
That makes sense. It definitely, everything is digital, and I've seen like a lot of people try to like put themselves out there on like TikTok and stuff, hoping that they can just, get their like 15 seconds of fame and then like maybe connect with someone. And it has worked with a lot of people just to kind of put yourself out there on social media. And I think it's great that we do have that platform now, and we are able to do that.
It's definitely all about networking now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was always about networking. When you look at like Pat McGrath or Edwin Ederful, like they've known each other since they started in the industry. But I do believe that TikTok and all these other platforms are a great place to start, because at the end of the day, like, you want eyeballs on you that may not have known you before. But I do think that there's a difference between being obviously being a beauty influencer slash content creator and an actual pro. So if you want to showcase your expertise in a different way, I have a friend, she sells like products and does different things. She does clients, but she actually started to use TikTok to like share like mini like makeup tips, and then she have people coming on there like, oh my god, that was such a great tip, like I would love for you to like pop on a session with me, or I would love to buy that product that you have. So there's so many ways now to like exist in this digital space as a makeup artist now.
For sure. There's a lot of resources out there.
So we saw that you have a podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So my podcast started as a YouTube series. My intention was like, I wanted to inspire, educate, and elevate. And what I mean when I say that is, when I first got into the makeup industry, there was a few things that I wanted to know. And I felt like a lot of people weren't very giving with their information, which is completely fine. But I came from the sense where I'm like, if I light your candle, it's not going to dim my candle. So I always wanted to like share my expertise, no matter if it was 2 days in. I feel like what happens a lot is that people don't respect the experiences that people have until like, oh, you need 10 years in the industry. No, if you've been in the industry for 2 years and you learned a valuable lesson, I want to hear from you. And I felt like, podcasts now are very like prevalent, and there's so many, but it was a point in time where I felt like I wasn't hearing the voices that I felt like I could relate to. I think sometimes in the beauty industry or in any industry, you're only hold to a certain you're only celebrated if you are connected to a celebrity or a magazine. And I'm like, you know what? I have friends that may not have the followers or the celebrities attached to their name, but they're doing amazing things on Broadway. They're doing amazing things in TV and film. And I want to hear their experience because it's valuable. And I also want to hear from people who have built beauty brands, who are dealing with mental health and how they're like getting through life as an artist, because we all know that, being a creative is not necessarily the easiest thing, and our industry is not always the easiest to understand. So the intention of my podcast was to really share those stories, talk about business, talk about life. And I also, like I mentioned earlier, started doing coaching. So just like sharing little tips and tricks on, how to grow and how to like do the things that I do a little bit better.
I love how authentic you are, like with your podcast. I think that makes it the more better to be completely you. How much does it take a lot of time and effort to put out this podcast? How much work goes into it?
It can be a lot of work because I have a separate podcast page called The Life of a Makeup Artist. You guys can go check that out. And I share work and stuff on there, and I want to like always like post engaging like prompts, asking questions, but like relatable memes. The actual podcast process does not have to be long, but if you want it to be good, it may be long. And I think the longest part of it is not the actual recording, but the process leading up to that, like getting schedules in line, figuring out when you're free, when I'm free. If it's quiet outside, I live in New York, so and things are always happening. So it's like that's the longest part of it. But in terms of like the editing and things like that, I have an editor. So when I get super busy, sometimes my podcast suffers. But now I'm like have a schedule and rolling out episodes like more frequently. But it really depends on the schedule. That's the only thing that I think I would say is an obstacle. But once you kind of like power through and develop a system, you're fine.
I love that. So what kind of topics do you discuss? I know it's very educational to someone trying to get in the industry.
I talk about a lot of different things. I talk about social media. I have my friend Katie Jane Hughes. We did an episode on how she built her following because she's also a pro makeup artist, how she built her following. I spoke about like my friend who built her, not my friend, a few founders that build their brands, Wanda Beauty, Uma Beauty. I wanted to talk to them as women who have experience already in either finance or business or whatever company they may have came from. I want to know how they build their companies. But I've also have conversations like, what do you do when you're in quarantine? Like, how are you dealing with like life? One of my friends is an artist, and I wanted to know, like, I see you doing this and you've been using this time to work on another skill. I want to hear about this. And then I also talk about like, everything that people want to talk about, but not necessarily always open. So finances, how do you deal with finances as an artist? How do you deal with like mental health? How do you deal with like your skin? Anything that really involves life is what I want to talk about, because like Sophie said, I want it to be relatable. I spoke about unfortunately when my aunt sorry, my accent. My aunt had died, unfortunately, and I had already booked a job in another country, and I was so torn because I couldn't just replace myself, and I had to fly. When I flew there, I got there at 6, ended up leaving at midnight on a flight, went to Trinidad for like 6 to 8 hours, and then was back on a flight back to that job. And I think those are kind of like taboo topics, especially in the industry, because you don't want to like mess up the vibe of the shoot, but it's like people's lives are happening. And it was a very new experience for me, grieving my aunt and then having to show up on set and be bubbly and make sure everything's good. So it was a very like tough experience, and I wanted to share that, one, because that's what the podcast is for, but two, is also helping me with my vulnerability, because I'm very much a Capricorn. I'm so private, and I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna tell my few friends what's going on, but I don't always like outwardly share everything that's happening.
Yeah, I think those are some super important topics, and like just having that, being able to be open about those topics is great, because even though like in social media and just like the time that we're in right now, I know a lot of people we're making progress to like opening up about topics that people wouldn't normally talk about, but there's definitely still a lot of progress to be had, and it's awesome that you're moving that way and putting that out there for everyone. I was
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You go.
Oh, I just wanted to add, like, sometimes when you share those stories, you don't know like how you help other people. One of my friends messaged me and was like, oh yeah, this actually happened to me recently. And it was like, so, and she just didn't even speak about it publicly. So if I didn't put that out there, we wouldn't have been able to have that conversation that we did. So yeah.
Sure. How do you choose like the people that you want to be guests on your podcast? Or like, do you reach out to people that you just think would be a good fit, or how do you do that?
So right now it's all like who I think are dope. Like if I think you're dope and I'm like, I want this person on my podcast, I think they'll be great. I have been like meeting a lot of people on this new app called Clubhouse, and there are people like building their brands, and I want to like have conversations with them. But sometimes it's like, sometimes I have small brands that reach out to me for PR opportunities, and I'm like, oh wait, this brand is like actually really cool. There's a brand that I work with. She's a Black woman. She's really young, and she has a skincare line called Kubra K Skincare. And I got PR from them, and then they wanted to work with me. And then I was like, oh wait, we had dinner, and she's like, oh, I used to be actually a biochemical engineer, and I started this company because my parents, you know. And I'm like, wait, whoa, like what? I want to hear about this. Like, how do you go from biochemical engineer to like a skincare like beauty brand, like, and totally immersed into an area that you're not necessarily fully like, versed in as yet. So yeah, those are the conversations that I want to have, because I think in this day and age, we're all aspiring business owners. And I'm like, even if you don't want a skincare brand, I'm sure there's something that she's experienced that'll help somebody else.
Yeah, that's awesome. So to switch it to YouTube, how long have you had that channel for?
Oh my God. I have been on YouTube almost a decade. And I will say that I had abandoned my channel for quite a few years, because when I came to New York, and I'm not blaming it on anyone, but when I came to New York, it was very taboo to be like an influencer. And I was like working full time at Mac. I used to like 2 hours transit to and from. So like being a YouTuber wasn't really like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get famous off of this. It was just like all that time, it was something that I was doing for fun. So
Right.
I kind of like I would still pop up here and there, but it wasn't something that I was actively pursuing, because everybody's like, oh, you're a YouTuber. I was like, no, I'm a professional makeup artist. I want to be on set. I want to be this, and that. And people always, if somebody asked me the other day if I regretted not being more consistent on it. And I'm like, actually, no, because I like the fact that where I am now, I am a pro artist and a content creator. So my perspective is different, as opposed to if I was just a YouTuber and then like I can take a product and be like, you know what, this contouring stick may not match me, but I know how to use it on Sophie or yourself. And I know how to like play with different colors, tones, and textures.
So what motivated you to start it in the first place? Did you start it in New York?
I've been in New York for 7 years. I've had my channel for almost 10 years, 9 years, I think now. But it started because I just love makeup. And I was just like, oh, I can do this. Like I can talk about products. And that's when I first started working at Mac. And I was just showing like, this is how I do my foundation. This is how I do my thing. And this is like me, I was learning at that time. So as I learned, I shared. So it was just a fun thing for me. I didn't have any intention or intention when I started it.
Do you hope to gain something from it like now? Is there anything that you just really want to achieve by having a YouTube channel out there?
Absolutely. Over the years, I feel like my mission has been the same, whereas like I always want to share what I'm learning. And now that I have this experience, it still holds true. So I've been talking a lot about like how to become a makeup artist, how to make money as a makeup artist, why now is the best time to become a makeup artist, because those are the things that I'm versed in. And like I mentioned, I started doing coaching and helping people to like kind of like figure out their strategy, figure out their social media, and kind of like get their feet wet in front and behind the camera. So my content is geared a lot towards like the business of beauty, but then also at the core of it, I'm a makeup lover before I'm a makeup artist. So I'm still doing reviews. I'm still doing, all the things that people want to know in terms of technique. While I don't do a ton of tutorials anymore on YouTube, I still want to share my knowledge. I do that more on Instagram, but I still want to like share my knowledge and give opinions about products, because I always forget, like, because I'm a pro artist, like sometimes if I don't like something, it literally like I donate it or I just forget, like it just totally out of my realm. But I just have to remember that sometimes people want to hear those things. They want to know what I think. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool that you're educating people. No, you're good. I just like, it's awesome that you can help people just by putting videos out there, explain.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And
like
I love that you were doing it for fun at the beginning, because that just makes it so much more authentic.
Yeah, like I mean, who knew what YouTube is actually gonna be? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I just think that yeah, I don't even think that if you want to start, like, because some my friend was telling me like YouTube is so hard to start now, and I'm just like, you could start today, tomorrow, and still have success on YouTube. Like, once you're authentically yourself, and you're sharing your message, no matter what that is, it doesn't have to be makeup. I think you can still be on there and find your tribe.
And people will definitely notice when they're watching a video, if you're being authentic and you
Absolutely.
have your niche. So do you have tips on how to grow a successful YouTube channel?
Yes, I will take my own advice with this one too. You have to be consistent. I would say, like, don't post today and then you post 5 months from now, because people are like expecting you there. It's like a TV show, you know what I mean? Like, if I click on, I see that Bob's Burgers didn't come on, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Like, why is there not a new episode? I'm pissed, right? So you have to kind of like treat it like that. Like, what is the show that is gonna come on? And then also, like, I say that thumbnails are really important. I really love using Canva as a tool, because if you have a thumbnail that the text is really small and most people are on their phone, they're not really seeing it. So you want to put something that really captures attention. You don't have to make it all clickbaity, but you do want to work on capturing attention with clear text, clear photos, and just make sure that you're engaging with your audience and listening to them. I always say, like, you have to do what you want, but you also have to be receptive to what your audience is telling you as well.
Do you use Instagram to kind of promote your YouTube or your podcast even?
I do use Instagram to promote my podcast more so, because I have a separate Insta, but then on my personal one, I'll always like be like, hey, or I'll post on my feed or post on my stories. Like, I did this. I use a tool called Headliner.app. It's a website. You just put your episode in there, and you could create like stories or like an Instagram post. And I, for my YouTube, not so much, but that is actually something I want to do more, because I do feel like there's separate audiences. But I do sometimes post like, hey, I just did this video, if you guys want to check it out. I always leave the links in my bio, but cross promotion is important. Once you're not like shoving it in people's throat, I think it's perfectly fine to be like, I just uploaded a video on YouTube, because the audiences are different, but they're once they're interested in you, they'll go over and they'll watch.
What's like your favorite platform to use? Like, do you enjoy doing Instagram a lot? Do you enjoy your podcast? Do you like
You have
YouTube?
a TikTok.
Yeah.
I have TikTok. I barely use it. But I'm gonna be getting more into my TikTok because I want to share tips in like a very short, succinct way. But I have to say, as much as I have a love-hate relationship, it's gonna be Instagram, just because I feel like that's where the bulk of my followers lie, even though it's not the place where I have the most most biggest audience. But definitely Instagram. And I do, like, I know a lot of people don't know about this yet, but I have been loving this new app called Clubhouse. I think it's like something I'm going to be on. Once it's around, I'm going to be on there a lot. Like, I love having just conversations, no text, no apps, no like buttons, no like things that are changing every 2 seconds. Is literally conversation, connection, and that's it.
And it's very just like real and authentic, like just put it out
Yeah.
there and everything has to
Real
be.
and authentic. Yeah. And I've been hosting a lot of like conversations around social media, the business of beauty. I started having a trivia night, which is I have one of those tonight. So just like having fun, whereas like that's like something I wouldn't be able to do on Instagram. I wouldn't be able to do that on YouTube. So it's carving out a new part of like social media for me.
That's awesome. So I know we were talking about your Instagram. We love your Instagram. We thought it was so aesthetically pleasing when we were looking at it. Can you give us some tips on how you use Instagram to strengthen and promote your brand?
Oh, that's a great question. So I use Instagram to strengthen and promote my brand in a few ways. If there are brands, like I mentioned earlier, if there are brands that I'm particularly interested in working with, I always want to make sure that I'm tagging them, I'm using them in my own content, I'm using them on in my shoots. Like, hey, I did this makeup, I used this set of products. So I'm making sure that I'm making sure that I'm connecting with brands that way. And in terms of my own brand, just like me, I'm making sure that I'm sharing a little bit about my life. I'm sharing my work. I'm sharing pictures of myself. So you kind of get the encompass. You like my Instagram encompasses everything. It's me, my podcast. I always like every few months, which I did yesterday, I'll pop in and be like, hey, this is like some fun facts about me. If you didn't know, like you're just getting onto my page, hey, welcome. I want to ask my audience questions because I want to know, what do you guys like? Like, you're here because you're, you are, drawn to me, but I want to know more about you. What do you like? What products are you using? So I think, like, as you started to build those relationships with not only your audience, but with brands and etc., you kind of figure out where you lie, what space that you're in. This is what I like to talk about. Is it natural skin, or is it more bright colors? So you kind of like you almost try to kind of figure out the culture of your own Instagram, if that makes sense.
For sure. Um, so we are obviously in the middle of a pandemic. Has COVID kind of affected your brand, or like has it affected the makeup industry or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. COVID has obviously turned this whole world upside down, and the beauty industry is included. So work has came to a complete stop. And nothing was going on. I was really, really, really scared to go back to set. I said no to a ton of jobs before going back. But it was a very different experience being on set, having like two masks on, a shield, and like and for me, it made me choose more wisely. Not that I wasn't before, but I really just I want to say yes to things that I really want to do. And COVID made it a way where it's like, okay, do you want to risk being outside for something that are not passionate about? So luckily for me, I was still able to work. I was still able to do some uh, editorials, some beauty campaigns, and I'm excited about that. But for the rest of the year, I'm not going to be doing any shoots or anything like that. If I do, it's going to be personal. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I do think that it's a perfect time for makeup artists to pivot into digital offers, whether that's doing Zoom classes or, like what my friend does on TikTok. It's a perfect opportunity to do that.
I think it's good that you kind of got to learn a little bit more like about yourself and like how you want to go about the industry from like I guess that's a positive from this experience. So
Of
that's
course, of
cool.
course. I think it gave people clarity, because some people are like, you know what? I don't want to be a makeup artist anymore. I'm going to hang this up. I'm actually going to pursue something else. But then some people are like, no, I actually really love this. And being here, and even in the midst of it being the lowest that it's been in terms of just like the world, it's like, no, I actually still love this and I want to continue and press on. So for some people, it was like, I'm going to hang it up. And some people was like, I love this and I'm going to continue with it. So
Yeah.
and that says a lot, because if it's like, if the world is shut down and you still want to like, do makeup and like still passionate about something that you love and not in despair, then I think that says a lot about your passion and like,
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can all agree this has just been like the craziest year. As it's wrapping up, what can we expect from you in 2021, whether it's from like your YouTube channel or your podcast?
Oh my God, there's so many things coming up for me. I don't well, what do I want to say? I don't want to like say everything, because I know that things are going to unfold. So definitely stay connected with me. But you're definitely going to see a lot more from my YouTube and my podcast. I want to talk and have more conversations, not just with like people that are building brands, but people that are like, trying to figure it out as well. Let's just have a conversation on my podcast. Let's talk about the industry. Let's chop it up and have random conversation. I'm going to be doing my coaching programs. So I have a few private clients that I took on during quarantine, but I'm launching my coaching program in 2021. So anyone that wants to win in front and behind the camera, I'm your girl to help you out with that. And then also just like having the same messaging on my YouTube and Instagram. Like obviously, I have a lot of free resources. My podcast is one of them. So if you are looking to like learn and before you come to my program or whatever it is, you can always hop on my Instagram, my YouTube, more so my YouTube and my podcast, to learn about whatever you might be interested in, whether it's content creation, whether it's brand deals, or getting into the industry, getting your feet wet. And then also I do have a show that I'm going to be hosting a show on an app. It's going to be weekly, but that's still being rolled out. So I think, with Clubhouse and like all these other apps, I've been loving like just hosting and like, moderating and conversation. So that'll be pretty cool because I think that translates from my love of like podcasting and having conversations. So I'm excited to see how that rolls out, but more content, more fun, more education, and just a little bit more of me, but just I think a little bit more vulnerably.
Well, it was really nice getting to talk to you and learn a little bit more about the makeup industry and just yourself in general. Before we go, do you want to plug all your accounts and let everyone know what they should follow you on?
Oh, absolutely. So you can find me at Jaleesa Jaikaran. That's JaleesaJaikaran. But if that's too hard for you, it's fine. You can go to the life at of a makeup artist. That's my Instagram. It's at the life of a makeup artist. My handle is in the description there, and you can also find me on YouTube. Same name, Jaleesa Jaikaran, and same for the podcast, The Life of a Makeup Artist. And then you'll find all my coaching programs and my private community in the description of my YouTube videos. So I'll let you like find that one. But yeah, that's about it. And my name is pretty congruent over all my platforms.
Awesome. Well, make sure to check out all of her platforms. We'll see you all next month. Thanks all for joining us today. And make sure to create a Student Mingle profile if you haven't already. So thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you so much, guys. This was really fun. And I'm always here if you guys have questions or, if you want to connect via Instagram or email or whatever it is.
Thank you
So much. We'll see you later.
Bye.